Here we go, we're going!
Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to Theorycraft Thursday. We, of course, are everybody's favorite Nazi punching enthusiast podcast. This is where we gather to be true Americans and appreciate really the most American thing that anybody can appreciate, just punching Nazis. And so,
straight in the ear.
Yep, straight really wherever. That sounded like an innuendo when it wasn't supposed to be. Anyway, as we tend to do at the beginning of our Punching Nazis podcast, we're going to go over Dota 2, which is pretty close to Punching Nazis. I think we can all agree on, right, Brad?
No.
Nope. Okay, me neither. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about Dota. On that note,
that's fair.
How has your week in Dota been, kind sir Proud?
I don't know, dude. How's yours been?
You sound weird. I lied. You don't sound weird at all. You sound great.
Okay. Thank you.
Mine has been fine. Nothing too exciting, honestly. I have been playing. I don't know. I've just been playing a lot of heroes. I'm looking at my games. It's mostly Sniper, which is a hero we're going to be playing today. I played Kunkka again for the first time in a long time. That was a lot of fun. That hero, he got nerfed a lot, but he's still playable if you play him with like Shadow Demon, or if you just have a pretty good game, you'll be fine.
I played a game against a Kunkka Shadow Demon combo. We had like a Weaver Lich duel off, and Kunkka Shadow Demon is pretty good against that.
Yeah, it's pretty good just in general. It does have some range problems. Like when I was playing it, I know there were a few times where, like, if the enemy mid laner is quick and you're like both level 1, it's not super effective to be playing. Like Kunkka Shadow Demon is just low range. Like you have to get Shadow Demon Egg, or you have to get a Lucky Torrent, but that defeats the whole purpose of Kunkka Shadow Demon. Not a Lucky Torrent, excuse me, but like you have to get a good Torrent, which is hard. So it does have some problems right in the beginning, but when like you're in that mid game, or like not, like the late stage of early game where like all the support's like level 5 or something, that's when it's super good.
I know that phase.
It's great. So yeah, I played that. That was fun. A nice return to form, despite the fact that I can't really play Kunkka that much anymore. Other than that, though, no, I just played I played a TA game, played a terrible Mid-Weaver game. I think we can both agree on that one.
Yeah, that was some shit.
It's
not a mid hero.
Yeah, not only that, but also like I have not played Weaver all patch. I just see her all the time, and like I messed up so many things just predicated off of my animations, because like I just have not internalized them. And like,
yeah, dude, Weaver's animation is it sucks. I hate it.
And like the ult animation on Weaver is deceptively long. Like there were a few deaths I had where it's like it feels instant when you're playing against it, but it's actually like has a however long it is, half a second wind up, quarter of a second wind up.
Yeah.
So that was rough.
It's pretty rough. Did you know that Weaver has a 1.8 base attack time?
That's not great.
Yep. Part of why the attack animation sucks so much.
Yeah, it was rough. And even like the timing of Geminate attack, like there's that little fraction of a second in between the two that like it's pretty easy to miss last hits and all that. So that was a wash. Don't do that. But yeah, so that's been my week in Dota. Honestly, nothing too exciting. Just a bunch of mid games. I've been getting back into Juggernaut mid too. I think I might have talked about this last week, but Juggernaut mid, I was a little off of it early on in the patch, but I'm back on the train. It's so fun. I just win my lane every time. It's like a piece of cake. God, and like Maelstrom, what a fun item.
Yeah, Maelstrom's hella fun. I've just been playing a ton of Druid, and I'm tired of it. I didn't think I could be tired of Lone Druid, but I am. I'm very tired of this hero. Every game of ranked I play is like me plus a bunch of 4.1Ks, and I need to play a mid hero, and I need to play a hero that I can like 1v5 with. So I pick Lone Druid every game. Yeah. And I'm so fucking tired of it.
Yeah, well also like now with the Lonely Druid build, you're like less invested in like the duality of like Scylla and the bear, so I can imagine it's a little less fun.
I just watch my bear die all the time. It's really fun as soon as I get my Deso, because I go a different build than almost everyone, unless I'm against a PA. Because if I have to work an MKB into it, I go the standard, the like Dragonlance Maelstrom stuff. But if I'm not, I go like phase on my bear, Helm of the or I go like Midas first, phase on my bear, Helm of the Dominator, and then I go like Deso. And then I just shit on everyone because I have plus 65 damage, all my attack speed from my Rabid, all my attack speed from my Helm of the Dominator, and I just like one shot everyone. It's fantastic, and I have so much fun. And then once that period ends, I like am desperately searching for more damage items to make me happy.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's even trickling down to the pros, not trickling down, trickling up to the pros. Like it is a force to be reckoned with now. It does make there's some sick joke in that. Like I've started to really enjoy playing sniper, and yet like a lone druid is now sniper plus, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can guess I hate that analogy, but
yeah. Oh, I mean, they're very different heroes, but like the basic idea of like they both shoot from very long away.
Yeah. Yeah, here's some real facts though. One of the reasons why Sniper is so good and can utilize his range so much better than Druid is his projectile speed. The Druid projectile speed is actually such a huge problem. It's fucking horrendous. Like if you play this hero enough, you'll notice that you end up wasting so much damage just by like things getting disjointed like a year after you throw the auto attack out, or I don't know, there's just like so much, or it's like someone walks up a hill and shit. It's just like his projectile speed is so fucking horrendous. It sucks. That's why I go MKB on him all the time now, because just like all these fucking stairs that people walk up and shit. Man, MKB is so good.
There's a lot of stairs.
The map is made out of stairs now. You need MKB all the time.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of problems with uphill miss, like just in general. It's kind of the bane of my existence right now, and God, I forget about some of this last week on the podcast or on stream or whatever, but God, uphill miss, it feels like it's doing more to me, more now than it used to. God, I've just been noticing it so much.
Yeah, no, but I go like Deso, AC, MKB almost every game on Druid now.
Yeah.
It's like the MKB is just so necessary now on like big range heroes. That's kind of like the main thing that I've figured out recently. Yeah, MKB is so good. Really,
Imagine, so one of the things that like Sniper has that helps him get away with the fact that like he's so far away is that you have shrapnel to give you vision, like of a tower, for instance, when you're sieging uphill. And Lone Druid lacks that, but then again, you have your bear, I suppose. So if that's not dead,
which melts in 2 seconds. Like,
yeah, that's the thing.
Basically, my bear is a 300 gold shrapnel. It's just like I throw it up there and it's dead. I'm like, well, that was that, and that was fun.
Yeah, so that's I can imagine that being an issue as well. But regardless, Lone Druid is quite the force to be reckoned with right now. So
he's so good. Yeah, the last game I played was like me and Luna against like 5 cores, and we managed to pull it out. Had like fucking Bloodthorn and 6 slotted, and I had my Midas and my AC or my bear because I had so many slots going on. Oh yeah, and I had my MKB and my stash or something at some point because I just swap it out for my boots of travel. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a game. It was a game.
All right. Well, I guess both are weak and Dota.
I hate Luna. I want this hero out of the fucking game. It's honestly so broken. It's absurd.
I agree completely. I think, God, I mean, if we were real scum of the earth for this week's Theorycraft on Thursday, we would just play the tried and true theory of Luna Shadow Demon, which is just the best thing of every patch.
How does this one work? Yeah, it's really fucking good. That's how it works.
Yeah, it sucks. Honestly, Luna is just way too good. It hurts my soul just thinking about it.
It's like unreal. Like every time someone doesn't pick Luna, like I play mid, and then someone picks like Juggernaut, and then they pick Luna. I'm like, we lost. That's the game. Like we just lost right there, and it's
it's rough.
It's brutal.
Like it's disgusting. I don't even want to talk about it. Like it's just ridiculous. Like glaives and illusions, and like the hero just does everything. Ugh, okay.
I really want a minor balance patch just to be like, hey, guess what? Luna isn't in the game anymore. Like take her out of captain's mode. She's too good. Take her. Or, that wouldn't help my pups. Just take her out. Just be done with her.
So maybe actually this is a good topic to talk about. What do you think about? So some people have proposed for a long time now that heroes that are not in captain's mode should not be in ranked. What do you think about that? Personally, I think they kind of need to be in ranked just for balance purposes, so that like people figure them out. But at the same time, I don't want them to be in ranked because it ruins my games.
If they weren't in ranked, then we would never get any testing on them at all. Like if I think about like the worst offenders of heroes that aren't in captain's mode and were in ranked that like ruined everything, it's like I don't know, like Arc Warden. Underlord maybe, but like if they're not in captain's mode, they tend to actually not get picked that much. Like Lycan is absurdly good, never picked in my pubs. Because, like, I mean, I'm sure that's less of an issue or more of an issue at, like, lower MMR games. Because, like, right now, like, at our MMR now, we get people who are, like, you know, trying to be real tryhard and they want to practice, like, the new meta stuff, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to just, like, practice things that are never going to be in a tournament. Like, as soon as Lone Druid was added, but not in Captain's mode, I didn't actually really play him that much. And not added, but, like, you know, when they reworked him. And then, you know, a day later, he was in. I'm like, okay, time to play him again. But I don't know. I think they need to stay in ranked. Otherwise, yeah, they're just not going to get tested by people who know what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree with you. It just hurts. And you're like, man, they know that this is not a fair thing in competitive games, but they're going to let it win my pubs anyway. Anyway, that's that. So that was our week in Dota, but I guess we can get into another very popular topic in the modern age of Dota, aka the last week and a half, and that would be Radiant Advantage. So Proud talked about this a little bit on Wednesday's show, but we're going to go a little more in depth. And when I say we, I mean mostly Proud, because he has actually looked up things, and I just have my kind of conjecture and assumptions, etc., about Radiant Advantage, which is pretty well established now. I think I don't have the exact percentage here. Maybe you have it off the top of your head.
100, I think it is.
Yeah, 100% Radiant always wins. But when we look at, let's see, gosh. All right, I actually can't find this. Isn't it? It's like an 8. It's like a 6% overall advantage.
I think it's 8. I think it's an 8% overall advantage.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Because I was going to say 8. And I was like, nope, I think it might be 6. But yeah. And I think on certain heroes, it's higher or lower also. But regardless, that's like, I think that's probably the biggest statistical advantage any faction has had in all of Dota I can remember, at least. Except for like Dota 1, like super old Dota, where like you had Dire heroes and you had Radiant heroes and you couldn't pick from everybody. That may have been there may have been a patch back then where Dire or Radiant was just super advantage. But anyway, in recent times, it is definitely a people used to complain about Dire advantage because of Roche Pit in like pre 7.0 map, and it would be like, oh, you know, they have a 3% advantage. But now it's like double that, and it's not great. It's not great. Like, it's a real problem. I jokingly tweeted that I just wanted to, like, all these Reddit posts and stuff made me just want to dodge every game that I'm not on Radiant. But then in retrospect, like, that was a joke, but now I kind of just want to do that. Like, that's such a statistically significant margin that, like,
it's absurd, man. I just went to I don't think there's a great way outside of just like seeing what other people post, like, you know, people like Nahaz or whatever, to actually just like go on Dota Buff and see what the exact split is. I'm probably just missing something, but anyway, I'm just looking at like meta and organizing like by faction and like top win rates for heroes, and like, you know, at below 2K, like top win rate on Radiant is Necrophos at 65. Top win rate on Dire is Necrophos with 55. Like, that's a big deal. And then you go, I'm looking at like 5K plus, top win rate is like something at like 52, and then for Radiant, top win rate is something with 59. And there's like a lot of 59% win rates on Radiant at 5K plus. So it's not like this is just low MMR games. Like, it's honestly just wild.
Yeah, it's a bit much. Like, normally, I think so I would say in previous iterations of the map and previous iterations of Dota, there has been minor statistical advantages that I just kind of like, I realize and I think about it, I'm like, you know, there is a minor advantage, but like really it doesn't apply to like my random pub games. Like, that's mostly just at a pro level that like strats are going to vary and like there's going to be a real difference. But there is clearly like pub implications at all levels. Like you said, more so at higher levels of this phenomena of Radiant advantage right now. So let's get into like exactly, or more or less exactly, how they have an advantage. So is it just the map is favoring them for like hills and stairs and uphill advantage, etc.? Is that like one of the biggest parts?
So I had like, I think I've contradicted myself on numerous times I've talked about this, but I mean, the more I talk about it, the more I kind of coalesce the way I think about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me actually like get into the map. Lock in Crystal Maiden, enter game. All right. There's a couple ways that you can look at it. The thing that I used to say was you would look at what's been, okay, so through all of Dota's history, it's always been Radiant favored, right? It's never not been, except for in pros because of Roshan. But through all of pub history, it's always been Radiant favored. And the one thing that's been constant the whole time is the map orientation, right? Like, that's the only thing that has never changed. So it's not absurd. To say that, you would have to go with a kind of like, if you looked at it as like kind of probability, like it's just kind of random when the map gets changed up who gets the favorability, because it can't be like perfectly tested or whatever. Yeah. It's not like they try to slant all the map changes towards Radiant that happens. It would kind of just be like random chance that map changes help out Radiant. In fact, historically, well, I guess a lot of the changes actually were helping out Radiant, especially with like moving around the Roche pit. But like the general map, like shaking up like the way the jungles work, it's not like it was supposed to be a weak Radiant jungle or a strong Radiant jungle or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, like, I think you may just have to accept it is slightly just kind of like random chance that Radiant itself has just been made better than Dire. And maybe there's like a series of holdovers from when, you know, like Dire is the Roshan side and Radiant is the everything else side.
But now Radiant's the Roshan side also.
Yeah, now Radiant is also the Roche side. It's like, God, like if you want to like, I don't know, I wouldn't call it scientific process your way through it, but just try to like actually figure out what the imbalance is through all the changes. I would definitely say pretty much every change that I have witnessed has made the Radiant a bit better. Like Radiant Jungle and how defensible a lot of their stuff is, it's just gotten better. Like Radiant Ancients have been way more easily defendable. And that's really never changed throughout everything. Like when Sven was really good, like Dire Sven, it was so easy to fucking kill a Sven doing the Ancients there. But like the Radiant Ancients were way more defensible.
Yeah. I mean, it's double the stairs, right? Like,
yeah. And just like the way they're positioned, like you have to be on low ground to do Dire Ancients. You have to be on high ground to do Radiant Ancients. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of it's more easy to notice than others, I think. Like some of it's okay, well, like you said with that example from previous patches, like 1, you are doubly uphill, 1, you are on low ground. Clearly you'd rather be uphill.
Yeah.
So I think what interests me when we regard Radiant advantage is the whole idea behind, and this is something that I brought up when asked about it, behind like moving upwards and to the right and having like this like just an aesthetically more bright and motivating area on the Radiant. And I think that's like an interesting thing that's not quantifiable in any sense and very easily nonsense. But it's always hard to me because it'd be nice to like point to one thing. Like we used to be able to point like, okay, well, Dire's better in pros because they have Roche advantage. Simple. Like cut. It was just that. But now it just seems like there's a lot of little things, right? There's no
I definitely agree.
Like, oh boy, it's solely because of this.
Okay, well, if we wanted to point to the most obvious things, okay, so let's look at the offlane first. Like, what's better about Dire offlane or Radiant offlane? The jungle is infinitely better. The hard and the medium camps are right next to each other, and in between them is the rune spawn. Yeah. Where as you look on the Dire offlane, they're like up a hill and shit. Like, what the fuck is that? And the I think the shrine is pretty equivalent for both offlanes. Like it's pretty easy to get to. It's right by the secret shop for both of the offlanes. Maybe a little bit better for the Radiant in that like you can see and hit the jungle camp right next to that shrine.
Yes. And you can pull Radiant offlane if you're Pudge or Rubik. That's also something people have been complaining about, which I don't honestly see regularly. But
yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with like the overall statistics, but that is definitely something to consider as far as like pros and like the more high level pubs are concerned. But yeah, so like the main thing that I was focusing on on the Wednesday show was, or I guess just one of the main things I pointed out was like, okay, let's just look at the offlane. Oh, look, turns out the Radiant offlane jungle is really fucking good, and the Dire offlane jungle sucks. Like, yeah, that's that. And then like if you look at the Radiant jungle itself, I don't exactly know how I would parse this. I would say parts of this are really like good and defensible, like the medium camp and the hard camp that are near the mid lane or that are like facing the mid lane more or less. Those are great, easy camps for mid to do. Whereas if you're Dire, like a lot of times I'm playing, when I'm playing Druid and I want to do a camp real quick, I have to run a fucking far ass distance and then I kill like a medium camp. I guess you could also do the hard camp with roughly the same amount of distance, but then you're kind of like on low ground, and there's some inherent risks to that. But as Radiant, it's just a hard camp right there, and then there's a medium camp also right there. Yes, it's on low ground, but it's super tucked away from everything else, and it's just like a straight shot back to the lane. And like I feel like the shrine is a bit the shrines are about equal to hit for both Radiant and Dire mid laners, but
I agree with
shit
that.
like that, man.
I feel like when I'm playing Dire, like think about mid and using shrines. When I'm playing Dire, the offlane shrine, it doesn't feel farther away per se, but it feels like I'm putting myself more in the middle of nowhere, if that makes sense, because I'm going out and under compared to the Radiant shrine. If I'm going to use that Radiant offlane shrine, it's kind of like you go up and then you hook backwards towards your team, and I don't know if it's appreciated.
It comes up more, I feel like. I definitely... Like, I have a lot more fond memories of the Radiant offlane shrine than the Dire offlane shrine.
Yeah.
You know? It's a better feeling shrine, and it seems a lot more defensible. I don't know really how to parse it. Like, the Dire one has, like, these 2 staircases up to it, which definitely has something to it, but I don't know. It's just...
Yeah. One of the big things that was brought up to me regarding Radiant Advantage, I believe this was on the Tuesday show, Lyrical was talking about it from a pro Dota perspective, and one of the big things is the like open space Radiant has in their jungle is contrast very starkly to the like very hilly space in the Dire jungle. And so when the Dire is trying to take a fight or when they're trying to run away or whatever, they don't have this like open view that the Radiant has because they have all these like small little staircases and inclines and stuff that interrupt vision. And like that lends itself to like Radiant can put aggressive wards there, which is really effective and harder to find because there's just more little spots on these like cheeky little inclined areas compared to on Dire. It's like, okay, well they warded our big space and like there's not that many places because it's just a big open area, right? So like there's a very clear place, like if you're kind of visualizing, if you go like directly south of the bounty rune spot, the ward is almost always going to be there because it just gives maximum vision, because it gives you vision to the right, closer to like the tier 1 bottom, and it gives you vision all the way in that like bounty rune area. Whereas in Dire, it's like, you know, it's a little less cut and dry.
Yeah, it could be on the rune spot. It could be on like one of those spires. There's like 2 or 3 spires in the, I guess just 2 in the Dire jungle. I don't know. It could just be and then like basically every spot of, every like spot you can ward in the Dire area like gives vision on a camp that is on the low ground. Like the Dire jungle, I think this is, there's this medium camp that's near the rune spawn is on low ground from the rune spawn. The hard camp near the shrine is on the low ground. There's like this medium camp on the high ground that's decent, but like the two most easily like farmed back-to-back camps on Dire are both like low ground camps. And it's kind of similar for Radiant, but these are 2. There's like an easy camp, or like the lane pulling camps for the Radiant safe lane. Those are definitely 2 camps that are indeed on the low ground, but those are the camps that you're dealing with like during the laning phase. You know, when you're defensive in your base and just farming, like you're not really dealing with those camps. So like the Radiant low ground camps are for the early game, and then once the fact that they're low ground matters, you don't really care about them as much.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean that's kind of all I have to say on the topic. Honestly, it's just it just feels like there's a lot of like little incremental things, but like the big one that really sticks out to me is always just like you have a lot of uphill areas on Radiant that you lack on Dire, and like the shrines are just like, it's such a ridiculously powerful thing to have a shrine like the one Radiant has next to Roche Pit. I forget exactly what you need. I think it's just if you have Aether Lens and Blink Dagger, you can blink straight from the uphill into Roche Pit. Like you might not even need an Aether Lens if you're positioned well, and even if that's not the case, you can still get really darn close. And it's a bit much. It's a bit much. That's kind of my 2 cents. Do you have anything else to say on the matter before we hop into our actual combo?
Yeah, actually I do.
Okay, good.
So one of the other things that I talked to Roland about on one of the Proudland shows was talking about like which Roxas are harder to push. This is something that I've always liked to think about, because I mean all lanes are not created equal, right? Some of the lanes they all have different geographies, so it would follow logically that some of them must be easier or harder to push than others. And I feel like if you want to draw comparisons between the off lane or safe lane Raxes of the two, I think I could say without a doubt that the Dire safe lane Rax is way easier to push, or at least way safer to push than the Radiant safe lane Rax. If you just think about even just like, oh god, I'm dying. Even if you just think about like retreating from them, so like let's say you're pushing the Radiant safe lane Rax, right? You have this like huge open space you walk through, you get it, and then to retreat, you can kind of like walk up these stairs, and then as you said before, there's this like huge open area that you have to like walk across to get anything done. And there's also like a ward spot that'll see everything you do, and you basically have like half a second of this like these stairs to get high ground vision, and then you're just in open, like it's just like open fucking season. Like Elmer Fudd is gonna kill every Bugs Bunny that he sees in this area. But like the Dire area, you go in there and there's just fucking trees everywhere. And then there's like low ground and there's like, there's just shit everywhere to dodge around. And then, yeah, there's all these like low grounds and stairs and high grounds and shit. And there's like other paths you can go down. Like it's fucking safe. But the Radiant, like retreating from Radiant safe lane Rax, that's death. You're just going to die.
Yeah. I feel you.
That's my thought about that.
All right. So I think we could hop into our combo this week.
Also, you can totally blink from the Radiant high ground to Roche.
All right. I was pretty sure.
Yeah. It's like super easy. Like you don't even have to cut down this tree. You just do it.
Huh. All right. Well, pro tip. Do that.
I have not messed this up in 5 attempts. This is super simple. Holy shit. I don't have an Aether Lens. This is doing it.
Yeah. I honestly have not done it often. But I know that it can be done. All right. Because you know me, I don't really play initiators in that sense. Also, I feel like I've been playing a lot of Dire games. Maybe it's just because I'm playing in stacks, and stacks are statistically more likely to get Dire. Another
reason Radiant has an advantage. All of your friends suck.
Yes, exactly. All right. So for this week, we're going to talk about our combo. Again, I already said earlier, I'm going to be playing Sniper this combo. We talked about it a little bit over the last couple weeks, but we're going to actually get into the meat of Sniper, for better or worse. Maybe we'll get intimate. Who knows? His meat is small and bountiful. The other hero we'll be talking about, played by Proud, will be Nightstalker, which is a hero we've never played before on Theorycrafting Thursday. I think we talked about him probably because he's fun.
Probably.
But we've not played him, so I'm looking forward to doing this. So I guess we'll start off with Sniper. I've been playing a lot of Sniper. Proud's played a few games here and there recently too. The hero's real good right now. I've not played him anything but mid. I know some people play him safe lane, but I feel like that's very suboptimal. And I'm sure it's not terrible. Like Sniper's still a pretty good hero, but it seems very like you're wasting a lot of his presence. But I've been playing him mid and having a grand old time. Honestly, it feels kind of bad sometimes. He's a real lane dominator. He does a lot of damage. He has great animation. He sucks at dealing damage, but he gets phase boots early, kind of like Quaswex Invoker, in that he doesn't build bottle. So you just go Wraith Band, and then you just build phase boots, and you're just doing a ton of damage, while the other enemy mid is, in most cases, waiting and buying a bottle. So you very quickly outdamage them. You can harass freely. You can do all kinds of things. You don't need to go get runes, which means you can push towers. He just has a ton of advantages. I'm a really big fan. I usually get a kill at 6, like right away. You just keep like 2 shrapnel charges awake. Keep 2 shrapnel charges available. Double shrapnel somebody, and then finish him off with an ult. At the very least, you're gonna get him out of the lane for a while, and in most cases, you're just gonna get the kill. The real I think really the thing that I've enjoyed about the hero, the thing that feels really strong about the hero, is his transition from dealing a ton of damage with shrapnel in the very early game, and he has that plus 20 shrapnel damage talent. And then he gets to a point where he's doing just tons and tons of physical damage, and he's really hard to get on because you disable blinks using shrapnel and choke points. You have a Hurricane Pike with 25% CDR from, I believe, your level 20 talent.
Yeah.
And you are doing that, I think it's every 9.6 seconds it takes the cooldown to. You're just jumping all around the map with a Hurricane Pike. Mjolnir you get, and so if somebody pops on you like a PA, you just pop the shield on yourself, and you're incredibly, they're trying to kill you, but you're dealing damage outwards. the hero honestly just feels really strong. Like he just does a lot of different things. He's good in all phases of the game. Like he's strong in the early game. He's strong after like level 3, just because that's when you want to have 2 levels in shrapnel, and the level 1 shrapnel not anything incredible. And he offers vision to your team. Like he just offers so much. And he just deals a ton of damage. So I think one of the first things I really want to get in on Sniper is that, and I think Proud, you also feel strongly about this. Phase are the boots to buy on Sniper, not treads. I feel very strongly about this. Treads are in his recommended. Treads are common. I would say I see treads very often, probably more often than phase, to be honest, when I'm watching pub games and even pro games. A lot of people build treads. I disagree with this so much on so many different levels. If you look towards Sniper's talents, he gets all the things that treads give him through his other items, right? Like your first item is always a Dragon Lance, which gives you just a bunch of efficient stats, right? Your level 10 talent, most of the time, almost always, I'd say you're going to choose attack speed, which is mitigating the fact that you're not getting attack speed from treads. And then you're getting more stats later on from your talents. I believe he has a talent, what is it, 15? 6 doll stats or something?
I'll check it. You keep going.
I'm wrong. He has no talent for plus stats. His shrapnel's not 15. Anyway, you're getting the early Dragon Lance. He is a great Silver Edge carrier. I honestly don't build it often, but he's, it's a good item on him. He just does a lot of different things. Anyway, phase boots, yeah. It lets you really dominate the lane. If you go treads, you have a bunch of health and attack speed, but you don't actually deal enough damage. Whereas if you have phase and like you're laning against, let's say, like Ember Spirit, we see a ton of Ember Spirit now. If he has a PMS, you're gonna be doing very little damage unless you're getting lucky headshot procs if you have treads. But if you have phase, you're just doing raw damage to him. Like 24 damage is a lot of damage in the early game. Yeah, and like I said earlier, you get him so fast.
It's like it's the cheapest you can ever, like it's the most efficient damage in the game. Phase boots, it's so fucking good. And 24. And yeah, when you're dealing with something like a like damage block out of a poor man's shield, you need to get your damage up as fast as possible so that it becomes like much less of a, like if you only do 60 damage, which a sniper would be lucky to be able to do, and then they get a poor man's shield, like you're only doing 2/3 of the damage you ought to be doing. But as soon as you get those phase boots up, it's not 2/3 anymore. You're going to be doing like 90% of the damage that you ought to be doing.
And this has double synergy because I always go Windlace early on him. I know we talk about this with a lot of heroes, but Sniper, I feel especially strongly about the Windlace. So generally what I do in my item progression is I start Wraithband, Tango, or Two Pooled Tango's Branch, Fairy Fire, and then I will get my, either, depending on the lane, I'll either go Brown Boots and a Windlace and get that ferried out to me, or I'll just go Phase Boots and then Windlace. Really depends. Sometimes if like they're being super aggressive on you, I have to go all the way in for the Brown Boots Windlace just to get the move speed. But when you have Phase Boots and a Windlace, and you have like the slows from Shrapnel mitigating like other heroes' move speed, it's just the hero moves really quick. And then eventually you have a Hurricane Pike on top of that. And obviously, of course, eventually you get rid of the Windlace. But just moving fast cannot be underrated, especially on a hero like Sniper that positioning is so important on.
Yeah.
So that's a really big deal for me. And like Dragonlance again is still a really good item.
The Dragonlance like solves your survivability issues, and then you have like all that move speed from the phase and the Windlace, and it's like there's just very little weaknesses remain for the for Sniper once you've got those items. Exactly.
And so my overall item build in general, it deviates a little depending on the game, is Phase or Wraithband, Phase, Windlace, Finish Aki, Dragonlance, Maelstrom, and then here's where it kind of differs. A lot of times I'll get MKB if I need it against like a PA. Other times I'll just go into a Scotty just to get a bunch of stats because I'm already doing good damage. And then after the Scotty, I'll finish my Mjolnir, and then I'll get like either a Daedalus or an MKB or a Butterfly, etc. For whatever for my last slot as the game continues. He's probably the only hero I think I'd build Daedalus on still because he's just so far away that the Bloodthorn's kind of like like I don't feel like using the Bloodthorn active is as practical on Sniper in a lot of cases as it is on like every other hero. So yeah, he's really the only hero I'd build Daedalus on nowadays. But yeah, so that's my overall build. Obviously, it deviates a little. Like some of his butterflies not great, but in general, you just want to stat up and then have like a couple damage items and a couple attack speed items, and you get the mobility and stats from Hurricane Pike. Obviously, you could throw a Silver Edge in there. Like he just has a lot of options, basically.
Yeah, his auto attack is kind of something of a blank slate. The one thing that you have to be aware of is that like Sniper's strength is that his damage will always get out. Like, you can't kite him. He's always going to do damage. So you do have the luxury to go something like an early Scotty or whatever and be really tanky, because, like, your issue isn't you just need to kill someone within your window of damage. Your window of damage is the entire fucking fight, unless, you know, they're on you and you die immediately. So as long as you're alive and the fight is still going, you're going to be doing your damage. You're going to still be doing your job. But, you know, if people are dying too quickly, maybe you need to kill someone before they kill someone else on your team. That's when, like, you need to rush out the plus damage items. But, like, it's totally cool to be, like, a super tanky sniper that's just, like, actually is never gonna die. Like, when in the Troll Sniper patch, there was this game where I was playing Jug against a sniper, and he just had, like, S&Y Scotty, and I would, like, blink on him and ulti and shit and try to kill him, and he would just out-man fight me. I was like, what the fuck? Like, why is the sniper not dying? This is, like, he's bounced around dying if I get on him, and I am Troll, and I am on him, and I am dying. But that's just what happens when you build it's a sniper super tanky.
Yep. Actually, I forgot to mention this, but I usually finish my Hurricane Pike right after Maelstrom. That's something I like to do. Also, another key item is Manta. And like when you have Yasha and Phase Boots and a Windlace, you're so fast. You're the fastest little dwarf boy in the entire world. So
you like Manta on him?
I rarely do it. I shouldn't say rarely. I'd build it like maybe a quarter of my games, if that. In games where like I know I'm not going to need an MKB, it's just kind of like I'll just stat up with like BKB. Well, yeah, I almost never. I haven't built BKB in any of my games. I don't think.
Well, what's the comparison between MKB and Manta?
Well, I mean, it's just like if I don't need the MKB. Let me look at one of my Manta games and see what I built, what I did not build. I just
don't get why those are like, oh, I don't need MKB, therefore I go Manta. Like, what are the boxes that become checked or unchecked that unlock that decision? What does MKB have to do with that at all?
I think that's more of a trend than like a line of reasoning, if that makes sense. Okay. Just looking up, I think I've only played like one Manta game recently. And I think it was just because I had to Manta something off. And like Yasha is just so good. I love Yasha.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yasha's really good. I mean, as soon as S&Y got way worse for ranged heroes, like I viewed that as a kind of like sniper nerf, because sniper S&Y is so fucking good. See. It's not quite as good anymore.
I'm looking at the only game that I built Manta in, and I went Phase, Hurricane Pike, Manta, MKB, Mjolnir, and I was building a Daedalus. So I built it instead of Scotty.
Okay.
And I actually lost that game.
Okay.
Let's see.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to say there's no connection between MKB and Manta. I'm going to debunk that one.
No, I agree with you. I think that was just where my my brain was going in the first place. Anyway, I think Manta's okay if you have to get it. I think I got it to get out of the enemy team had a Slardar and Ember Spirit. Okay, and so I didn't want to get chains for like a year. And they had a Life Stealer that I wanted to get away from.
A lot of stuff to dispel there. That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the thing. And then skill build wise, basically I always want to be you always max shrapnel first by 7, like at 1-3-5-7. And then I get a point and take aim at 2, and then headshot at 4. And I feel pretty strong with that. And then I max take aim second, and I max headshot last.
Yep.
I've seen some people do like headshot level 1 or like take aim level 1, and that's just ridiculous. Don't do that. So that's pretty linear, honestly. And get your ult at 6 and 12. And I have seen some people get bottle on sniper mid, and then they just like spam assassinate at the enemy mid laner. If they realize they can't kill him, they just keep him or her out of lane forever. Just spamming assassinate. Like assassinate does an absurd amount of damage. It's so good. So maybe do that. I honestly don't like to do that, but I can see a world where I've laned against it, I'll say, and it's been miserable. So
yeah, I could definitely, like, if you don't need the regen of bottle, I definitely think there's a lot. Oh, you go Aquila on him, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so like you start with the Wraith Band or whatever, and if you got like Phase Aquila really early on, like on Shadow Fiend and on Arc Warden, this is like what I do. If I start with a Wraith Band, I just Like, I get my bottle, and then I finish Aquila before I get my boots. And like Sniper, I feel like you could do something similar, but you know, you're not getting bottles, so you just like finish up an Aquila really fast, and then you just have like, you know, 18 fucking damage and like all the stats of Aquila and that shit, like 500 gold into the laning phase, and then you get phase boost after that, and like you're a really fucking tanky ass and like doing a lot of damage and very mobile sniper, while they just have like bottle and brown boots.
Yeah, he has a lot of options. Basically, it's a very like. I'm kind of surprised because when you think of Sniper, right, he seems like maybe like the easiest, like most linear hero in Dota when it comes to like he just shoots from far away and you get a bunch of stat items. But after playing a bunch of Sniper games, like the real key and like skill cap to Sniper, I feel, is shrapnel placement. That's kind of a not hard to learn, but there is an element to learning how to like place shrapnels well and like memorize the
delay. Right? Like, there's like a 1 second before it actually comes down, so you do have to think about where you're going to place. It's not just like, oh, someone's walking here, shrapnel. It's like, okay, someone will be here in 1 second, and they will need to walk through the diameter of this after that, you know, 1 second. It's like actually pretty difficult to place like really good shrapnels.
Yeah, and it's very easy to get carried away and like throw them unnecessarily. Like, I know I've missed out on kills because it's like, okay, I used 2 shrapnels on like a support trying to get him while he's running away. And then I don't have a shrapnel to kill like a carry that's running or something. Yeah. The other big thing that's like a skill cap thing on him is just positioning your hero well in like the split second. And like that's important on everybody who's ranged, of course. Or I mean, everybody just in general, positioning is a big deal. But especially on Sniper, I've found like, as I've played more, I've found like more like little niche spots where I know like, okay, I'm going to be able to get really good shrapnels from this position, and I'm going to be able to Heaven's Halberd, Hurricane Pike down this hill or up this hill or what have you. So there is, the hero has some skill cap, that's for sure. It does like, it is also very easy to play. If you're not great at playing cores, pick up Sniper is not rocket science, I'll say that much.
Yeah.
So I think that's about it for Sniper. The synergy between Sniper and Nightstalker, before we get into Nightstalker specifics, is nice just in that Nightstalker gives me a bunch of vision, and he's tanky, he ganks well. Like, if you're level 4 and I'm level 5 or 6 in lane, or rather, if it's 4 minutes, that's usually when my phase boots are coming out, and your nighttime is popping, and you can just come to my lane, and I'd say most matchups, unless it's like a Timber Saw, we can just kill, like, super easily. Yeah. With like me having level 3 shrapnel and you having like nighttime and a couple points in void. And then of course, as the game scales, you having Aghanims is a huge deal for me just having vision to shoot people. So yeah, kind of
that's synergy between Slaughter or Sniper. I mean, Slaughter or Sniper is incredible. That's maybe something we also could have thought of. But I mean, Slaughter with everything is really good now. But like the amp damage to keep vision of someone all the time, and you're doing way more damage when we have vision of, kind of similar to the Slaughter PA that I really like. But Nightstalker is kind of similar. It doesn't give you the minus armor or whatever, but it does provide like an absurd amount of vision, not just so you can be shooting people, but you can be aware of anyone who's trying to flank you. Like, you'll always basically have map hacks and always be in the correct position if you have like a Nightstalker scouting for you.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think, well, actually, let's get into Nightstalker specifics. This is a hero that like people don't see super often, and I think is played in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna play him as like a 4, a kind of like roaming support. There's a few ways you can do it. Really popular for a while was getting the really early Iron Talon and just like jungling until nighttime, basically, or like jungling until whenever, and then you walk to a lane, cast a void, and then just kind of hang out in the bushes and be a scary boy until nighttime comes, and then you should be like level 3 or 4 or something like that at 4 minutes if you jungle decently, and maybe get a gank off or something like that, and then you just go like hunt down some other fuckers. And I think that's a pretty fine way to do it. I'd probably play it a little bit more roomy just because it's a pub, and I'm not sure that anyone's going to appreciate me picking Nightstalker and then buying an Iron Talon with my starting gold. But I mean, that's fine. Like, I've played Nightstalker a few times and been pretty much like lane supporting. But yeah, like, he's tanky. He's got nice HP regen. He's really good at like roaming around. He has a nuke and a silence and Hunter in the night to, be like extremely good at roaming once the light comes. Yeah, I mean, he's playing Nightstalker, man. He's just Nightstalker.
Yeah, he's very fun here to play, I'll say. I feel like everybody in Dota has some phase of their like Dota growth where they're just like, man, Nightstalker's dope. They just play a bunch of Nightstalker games. Gone are the days of Nightstalker, rest in peace, but that was fun while it lasted.
So I used to play a bit of Nightstalker. He's great.
It was legit at one point. Yeah, definitely not anymore. So what do you do item-wise on him? Obviously, Aghanims is like the priority, but do you do when I think of Nightstalker, I think of like the classic thing is like, you start with an Iron Town, right, to get some jungling done. Else it's, not bad stats for diving.
Armor's nice.
And you just go like phase, earn, and then you get Ags. Or some combination of that. So where are you planning on going?
So I think I'll probably emphasize getting a little bit heavy on the little items. I'm definitely not going to say no to the possibility of a Midas. I've seen a lot of Nightstalkers go Midas these days. Just on the people that I was checking out. But yeah, like I think getting an Iron Talon at the start is good, or at least like the beginnings of an Iron Talon. And then like helping out a side lane, and then like immediately, like buying the Quelling Blade at lane after, like, start with the Ring of Protection and the recipe, try to get a gank off, then buy the Quelling Blade and go jungle or something like that. Yeah, like after you get that, you want to get your brown boots, of course. Hunter in the Night is kind of one of the things that you can really build around. Your 2 spells, they cost mana, not too much mana. There's not a lot of building around them. Hunter in the Night is really what you do want to build around. So that gives you percentage move speed and attack speed. So Windlace is really strong on him. If you can buff up that 20% move speed by 35%, it's a lot of extra value going on there. And it also gives you a lot of attack speed. So phase boots are decent. Because, plus damage scales well with attack speed. Additive bonuses scale well with multiplicative bonus. That's what attack speed is, multiplicative. But I don't think it's quite worth the money. Like, I think I'd rather have a section of my Ags than finish a phase boot. I think you're pretty fine with just the brown boot and going like, because there's a lot of like small items that are really good on Nightstalker if you want to be like tanky and divey and stuff that phase boots don't really supply you with. Like, I probably want like, before I go into a Ags, I would want to have at least a raindrop, a wand. I might think about. I'd probably want the Windlace. I still love that item to death. You might even want a Orb of Venom or something like that. A Blightstone maybe. All these little things that are so much cheaper than like 840 gold of phase boots that I'd be very interested in. Especially if I have the item slots open, or just like general support items, a dust, smoke, that sort of thing. I don't feel like I quite have the luxury to finish boots on this hero, at least if I'm not going like Tranquils or something.
Yeah, that's fair. And I guess like I have the base of damage from like as far as physical goes that you don't necessarily need to provide. Like you're providing the utility of like slowing them and all the damage, of course, from Void. Yeah. So I think that's fair. I do like the advantage of phase in that like you just you just deal a ton of damage. Like you could dive because you have the stats just natively as a hero. Yeah. Like I've definitely seen the advantage of that, but that's fair. I think it's hard to argue with like Raindrop and Blightstone and Orb of Venom and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think if you do have the luxury of playing more of this jungly Nightstalker that can get, like level 3 at 4 minutes.
Yeah, or like an offlane Nightstalker.
Yeah, like if you have a more core-oriented Nightstalker that's getting a lot of farm off, you can have the luxury of getting, like the phase boots and all that stuff before any of this. But I feel like if I'm playing like a more supporty Nightstalker and I spend that much gold on like raw damage, one of the things that you're always afraid of with these kind of like heroes that are quote unquote like tanky and can dive really well is if you spend too much on being tanky, or if you spend too much on being damaged, you may lose the fact that you're really tanky. Like if you build all this damage and they build tank, turns out you're actually like the role's kind of reverse. You're not actually an Underlord anymore. You're a puck, and then you just die. That's what I'd be afraid of, is like a Nightstalker that's maybe dying a lot or buying a bunch of support items, and then I'm under the assumption that I'm very tanky, and then I spend 840 gold on phase boots, find out I'm not tanky, and I'm never going to catch up.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think, I'm just thinking back, and most of the times where I've gone play like 4 Nightstalker or 3 Nightstalker and gone phase, it's mostly just been in games where like my first night goes really well. Yeah. And then like you just have the money and it's like, okay, cool. Like I have 900 gold already because I got first blood, or I just got a double kill or what have you. And then you just transition. You're like, all right, like 24 damage is great. But definitely it does not suit those games where it's like, okay, it's 10 minutes. Getting phase boots at 10 minutes is not going to do me a whole lot, right? It's like,
I think I would want to like make the judgment call between phase boots or Midas. And I'd say at least if I'm doing well, I would choose one or the other. And I would say like if it looks like I need to push an advantage now and like keep terrorizing the game, I would go the phase boots. But if I need to, if it looks like the game's got to slow down, I can't quite utilize the phase boots to be entirely aggressive. Maybe a lot of my dives, if we go on, I'll just get like stunned out if I'm diving under a tower. Maybe they're starting 5-man more. Then be like, okay, I did my damage. No need to push the advantage further. Night is about to end. I don't want to spend all this money on phase boots right now. If the night is about to end, then maybe just like pick up the Midas because I'm not really going to be able to leverage the phase boots for another 4 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we'll hop into the game now, and we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it goes well. Yeah, I know.
I'm excited. I haven't played not a core in like 20 games.
Yeah. I've been playing mostly mids, to be fair, but you've also played a lot more Dota recently than I, so that'll increase burnout ratio. And inevitably... Burnout Radio. That sounds like a
We are your hosts, Ursinity McDougal and Proudo McBlunt.
Perfect. On that note, let's hop in and hopefully our first night goes well. Alright, hello everyone, we are back. We have just completed our game. It was a delightful game. We actually had the privilege to play with a listener, just by coincidence, on the other team, so shout out to that guy, 100 Eyes. Played Tinker, we landed against each other. It was a real bonding experience. I had a great time. He had a great time, I hope. We ended up winning the game. It was a lot of fun. We played... I feel like we could talk about our entire team comp, because not only did we, of course, play Sniper Nightstalker, but we convinced our pub player to play Luna, and to no surprise, especially if you listen to the first 20 minutes of this podcast, Luna's a really good hero, and it was one of those things where like we won a couple fights, and she just like barreled down and took a ton of buildings. And then, of course, on our team, we had a Rubik and we had a Necrophos. And Necrophos, if you listen to the Monday show, and also if you look at win rates, Necrophos, or if you just play Dota, Necrophos is a really freaking good hero. He is stellar. He's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, he's dumb and I hate him.
Yeah. And the way we landed was an off-lane Necrophos, a mid Sniper, of course, a safe lane, dual lane of Rubik Luna, and then an off-lane Nightstalker. The enemy team, though,
you mean a roaming Nightstalker, idiot?
Yeah, that's what I said, right? Roaming Nightstalker?
You said jungle. Or no, you said offlane. You said an offlane Nightstalker.
Might be.
Like a fucking moron.
Okay, so the enemy team, they had a safe lane of Jakiro Tiny, they had an off lane of Quap, and they had a roaming Spirit Breaker, and they had a mid Tinker. So, just by comp, like, we had the most abusive, like, annoying, cancerous stuff, honestly. All we needed was, like, an Ember Spirit, but even Ember Spirit, like, isn't nearly as bad as he was like 2 weeks ago. Speaking that people now like are realizing how to play against it. But so we won pretty decisively, I'll say. We basically, how'd you say we won, Brad? Basically we just snowballed, right? Like it was a classic Luna strat or Luna sniper strat where, you know, you won a couple fights, you take control of the map, you take all the towers formulaically, and then you just high ground. They couldn't do a ton. They couldn't engage because we had incredible vision from Nightstalker. And that's just how things went. Like, we had a couple hiccups here and there, but it was rough for them.
Yeah, as soon as I got off, like, I feel like I really wasn't doing a lot early, and I completely misskilled by, at level 2, I got Silence instead of Hunter in the Night, then I got Void at level 3. So I was like, unless I was level 4 by 4 minutes, which would be fantastic for a support, I actually didn't have Hunter in the Night when it turned nighttime. So I was like, well, that was stupid. So I just jungled a camp and got a bounty rune and got my 4 up pretty quickly and then got my Hunter in the Night and everything was okay. But I didn't do that much early game, but I did just jungle early because the Rubik bought all the support items, which was an awesome privilege. And I just like jungled my shit out and got levels, and as soon as it was nighttime I was ganking lanes and it was great. It's a good time.
Yeah.
I
just had to harken back to what kind of podcast this is. This is a Nazi punching podcast, and news has come out that Richard Spencer has been punched again. So
has he really? God bless this world.
Yeah. Actually, so to keep, I mean, because obviously, like we said, we are a Nazi punching podcast primarily. apparently the video that everybody's circulating is the second time he got punched. And so there was a previous punching that has now just been released. So, there's a whole storied history of Richard Spencer punching. Anyway,
he put out a video a couple weeks ago that was like, "This is the biggest threat. We have to make sure this doesn't happen because this is how they will stop us." Like legit, just was like, actually, the way to stop Nazis is to punch them. So, like, thank you for that tip, Mr. Spencer.
Yes, the American pastime. Anyway, to get back to Dota 2, God, I completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
What did you just
I'm glad
say?
you're also pro-Nazi punching.
I mean, it's hard not to be.
It's what Captain America would want for us.
That's what he does.
He's a Nazi puncher. Let's be real here.
Yeah, I'm into anything Indiana Jones is into, honestly.
Oh yeah, Indiana Jones and Captain America, the kind of the two pillars of patriotism in this country.
Yes. What were you just talking about?
Nightstalker. I was roaming around.
Oh yes,
getting the ganks.
So how did?
Yeah. So I.
Okay.
I'm going to talk now. So I bought a bunch of tiny items. Like I had a raindrop, I had a windlace, I had dust, I had a TP, I had a wand, and it was too much.
Yeah,
that was too much.
We're overburdened.
Too many things. I was, and I tried to have sentries too, and I was like sentries and dust, and an iron talon, and boots. So I just cut the boots. I just had to go bootless the entire game.
He's kidding.
I did not do that. So I ended up selling my windlace very early on. I didn't have a blightstone. I didn't have a orb of venom or any of that. But I had the windlace for a little bit. But I think one of the main things was that I did go for the Midas. And as soon as I got the Midas, I was like, no room for anything. Just no room for fucking a single goddamn thing. But if I didn't go Midas, I would have been fine to keep the windlace for a while. But I think maybe just kind of holding it over at like boots and then a wand is probably all you really need, and then either go Urn or Midas from there, and I think that's good.
Yeah. You didn't build an Urn at all, correct? Like you just went straight in for the Midas?
No, I didn't build the Urn at all. I just went for the Midas.
Yeah. I definitely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I definitely see your problem in like a lot of the 4s and 5s that I play. In that you just like there's so many items that you want, and yet you have to just like you have to cut down, unfortunately. But thankfully nowadays a lot of times you don't need to carry your TP in your inventory. You can have it in your backpack. That helps a ton.
Yeah. Well, as a 4, that can suck though, because like, oh shit, we're getting dove, and I was like, can you survive for like 6 seconds, and then the time it takes me to TP?
That's true.
That would be great.
Yeah, I was doing that, for instance. Like I had my windlace for the entire game, and I would just be switching back and forth with my TP.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought like despite like the first couple of gangs didn't go great. The first one went great, but then the second one I had a bad shrapnel placement, and even if I had a good one, I think it would have been close. Because he still had a fairy fire because he started null double fairy fire. But in practice and in theory, the Nightstalker roaming with the sniper is really effective. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah,
and especially like Tinker's a little hard to gank because he just stood really far back because I pressured him and then was marching, which was pretty good. And the early march spam is honestly like so annoying to play against. It's a thing that a lot of Tinkers aren't doing nowadays, and so I was pretty happy to see that. Anyway, as the game progressed, I think we definitely saw a lot more synergy from the Nightstalker to the sniper. Vision was huge. What did you think about the talents on Nightstalker? I know we had some discussion regarding his level 10 talent.
Yeah, so between the 7 strength or the cast range is your first choice at level 10, and originally I was just going to go 7 strength because I've had a lot of success, a lot of good experiences with any of these early strength talents that strength heroes get. But you were like, maybe attack cast range, you're Queen of Pain, Tinker, I don't know, maybe. Yeah. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense when you say it like that. Yep. So I picked up the cast range, and it was definitely the way to go when you're dealing with like a Queen of Pain and shit. Like as soon as she sees me, she's gonna blink, and she had a fucking a Lincoln Sphere too. So I like doubly need to like get a spell off, then another spell off like before she noticed. And as much cast range as possible is necessary for that. And dealing with like a Tinker, if the Tinker was in the trees, there may be the case that I can't actually reach him before he TPs out and all that shit. Yeah. So yeah, the cast range was definitely the way to go. I definitely like that a lot.
Yeah, because that's one of those things that a lot of heroes have the cast range, and it's usually like cast range versus stat. And I've almost always been going cast range, and it's just so. It's very easy to underestimate 100 cast range. I think like we can all agree on that. But when you have it, it's like wow, this really makes a difference.
Well, the main reason I wanted it was the extra range on my Iron Talon.
Of course. It's those pesky wards.
Yeah. Or just creeps, like if I want to aggro the creep a little faster. Me.
That's true. Although you don't want to get too much range, because then you'll be outside of creep aggro range. That's when you get the real problems.
Oh, yeah. Then that's when, like, how you have too many Aether Lenses that stack now. They don't stack.
Yep.
Tricked you.
Anything else on Nightstalker before I talk about Sniper a little bit? I think it was a good Nightstalker.
I think that was about it. I mean, I just went like, I got the Midas, and then I went Midas into Ags, and the Ags was great. I just walked around all game. I got an Arcane Rune during daytime, and I ultied, and then 30 seconds later, I ultied again, or rather, night ended, and then 30 seconds after my pseudo night, the artificial night, I made another one, and that felt great. And then it was nighttime totally, and I was like, man, what a fucking fun hero. And then after that, I just went BKB, because we didn't really need anything too bad, and the ability to just like maybe I'm going to get gone on while I have this gem, my precious baby gem, and I'll need to BKB to get the fuck out. And it just kind of like makes you unthrowable as like a 4 if you have a BKB. Like you can't just like get caught out or die to a bunch of AoE damage in the middle of a team fight. Like it necessitates that their cores deal with you, not that you just like die to ambient damage and that sort of thing. So I love BKB on 4s.
It's I will say that line of thinking is very much like the Armlet Rubik line of thinking. Just to put that out there. But yeah, there is definitely, all jokes aside, such value in adding an unexpected element to a fight where like they just assume like, oh, okay, we're just gonna burst him down so he like loses gem or so he can't give vision. But then it's like, oh wait, we can't do that because like in a normal game, Nightstalker is not gonna have that. He's gonna have maybe an armlet. Some people do that and like as an offlane Nightstalker, but he's not gonna be tanky, and you don't expect him to have BKB. So there's a huge surprise element of that, and then like on top of that, it's also like even when they know you have it, it's still just such a force to be reckoned with. And we were saying this in the game itself, but it changes the mental math in such a drastic way that it's really hard to make a decision. Like, oh my god, okay, can we kill him quickly? Should we just ignore him? Like, there's so many new variables just added by that single item.
Yeah. Or just the idea of like, okay, we have a Jakiro and a Tinker throwing down all of this awesome AoE damage. So like, we can have a fight that our Spirit Breaker starts out, then we can throw all of our AoE and make like this zone of control that they can't enter. But then I pop BKB and I'm like, hey, your zone is now mine. I am like hitting your Tinker in the middle of his March of the Machines. He can't do shit about it. It just like changes around everything as soon as you have a like support that they're not expecting to be able to wade into all of their bullshit. And then their core has to be like, oh, now I have to deal with this Nightstalker. Or we just let him do whatever the fuck he wants for like 9 seconds before his BKB runs out. It just shits all over all their plans.
Yeah, it definitely felt like that. Like, what, you had a total of 1 death, and that was early too, right? So it was quite effective. So on Sniper, I did basically what I talked about before, and I just did the pretty standard phase Windlace, finished my Aki after that, and Dragonlance, Maelstrom Mjolnir, or Maelstrom MKB Mjolnir. I was kind of fighting back and forth because I is that carry problem where like I felt like I wanted a BKB because we had 1 bad fight where I got bursted by a ton of magic damage, or 2 bad fights because I ended up with 3 deaths, and it kind of like impulsively was like, man, I should really build a BKB. But then we had a whole bunch of fights where I didn't need it, and it just came down to like positioning, and I just needed to like we just needed better initiations and all that. So eventually I did not end up building the BKB, although I probably would have built it next if the game had continued. Other than that, I felt really good about it. I think laning phase wise, I was kind of thrown by the Tinker marches, because like normally nowadays people play that like Miracle style of Tinker, or I shouldn't say Miracle style, but he popularized it, of getting a lot of points in laser and rocket early and just dominating the lane and forcing people back and like making it so they can't play the lane. And this Tinker, kind of like what I like to do, usually got a few points in March, and even with Sniper's range, unless I had like really drastically changed my build and gone super far to take aim early, which would have been awful, I just had to, I had to pop in and out of lane to get my last hits, and so it was not a free farm lane by any means, but it went fine overall. I did die once because I just overestimated my positioning, and Quap blew her ult on me, paired with Tinker, rockets, and all that. So that was rough. But I think overall it went fine. The Tinker sniper matchup I had not played before, or at least I haven't played recently. And it was interesting. It's sniper has this kind of dynamic with a lot of matchups where you just have to like blow shrapnels early to make it so they get their bottle late. And then if they're getting their bottle later, that just means you have more time to like freely farm. And you can burn their two pool tangos super fast, especially against people that do double fairy fire builds, which is not common, but or I should say it's not uncommon. I will say like normally you see like the two pool branch fairy fire, but it is I see it, maybe 1 in 5 times, I guess. People do the like, stat item 2 fairy fire. So that really helped a lot because he didn't have the equivalent of 3 tangos, he only had 2. And overall, like once he got bottled, it became more of a problem because I was getting marched more often and getting hit with other things. I think laning phase went fine. It was not the easiest matchup I've played, but it was not the hardest. Sure. Actually, I didn't bring this up on the first part, but against sniper mid, the most effective counter to sniper mid I've found is PA. I played that matchup a few times, maybe not a few times, twice I think, and it sucks as sniper. It's really hard to play as sniper because you can't, like, she can just dive you and you don't, like, she just gets in your face. And obviously it's kind of predicated on the PA having good crits. But I will say, as I hate to call myself a sniper player, but as somebing that plays sniper now,
you're a sniper player.
Oh yeah, I absolutely am. I don't have any good excuses.
He's actually your most played hero now.
Yeah, I mean, he's my most played hero by a good margin for the last 2 weeks, I would say. He's probably like a third of my games, honestly.
437 sniper games. Jesus Christ, your next highest is Invoker at 324.
Yep. So it's been interesting. But yeah, so that's my advice. If you're against sniper, pick PA. And also get crits. That's a nice bit of advice. Advice I myself don't take frequently. But yeah, and then it was just a lot of positioning stuff, honestly. Like, sniper's just all positioning. That's really what it comes down to every single time. Is just, if your positioning's bad, you're going to get killed, and if your positioning's good, you're going to live. And that's it. So, play a bunch of sniper games, get used to positioning, and get used to positioning around other things, and, like, make sure, I want to be far away, but I still want to be in Necro Aura, or I want to be close enough so that I get X buff, but far away enough that when Spiritbreaker charges in, I don't get buffed, or I don't get bapped. So, it was fine. Honestly, I don't have anything super exciting to say about Sniper. Like, he's pretty formulaic, and I didn't do anything weird like the Ags builds or whatever. So all together, it was just a fun game, just enjoyable, nice formulaic Dota. Just push lanes. Luna's a good hero.
Tiny sucks. Tiny's a really fucking bad hero. Don't play that hero unless you're me, in which case play it and then get sad.
Yeah, I feel you. Also, I think he should have gone Blink immediately instead of the Shadow Blade.
Yeah, the Shadow Blade was stupid. He must have been an idiot or something.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but, you're the one to go that far. But because if he had a Blink dagger, he could have just, blinked on me and popped me immediately, because I was stupid. I didn't build raindrops earlier.
Yeah. It's tough, though, right? Because if Tiny does do that, they're just gonna die right after.
Yeah, true.
You have the insertion. You can insert yourself into any situation on Tiny. You will immediately die afterwards. You do your combo and then you're just dead. That's what happens after Tiny blinks in and combos. Tiny don't got shit. Tiny just dies.
Yeah, that's fair. Although, I mean, I imagine if he blinked in right away and Spiritbreaker came in right after, that's enough disruption from multiple angles, maybe. And you could have a March or you can have a Quap coming in on the side.
Yeah, I'm not saying the Blink was better than Shadowblade. I'm just saying no matter how you cut it, Tiny's a shitty fucking hero.
Yeah, he's not great. I feel your pain, buddy. A lot of my favorite heroes suck. But yeah, so that's about it for me. Honestly, I think we're just gonna hop into the plugs unless you have anything else to say about the game.
Yeah, let's plug it up, huh? How about we do that one?
So plug numero uno, patreon.com/friends of the patience. We we love your support on all formats. But that is the monetary format, so feel free to throw us a couple bucks there. You can get replay reviews, commission podcasts. We're nearing that $250 a month mark, in which we will be making 2 Patreon only podcasts a month, which will be a lot of fun. And that's that. So we appreciate it. Other than that, you can give us iTunes reviews. Those help us immensely. More than is incredibly important, so we appreciate those as well. You can contact us. I am at Ursinity on Twitter. Proud is at ProudDota on Twitter. Our show is at @doppy_show on Twitter. You can email us defensivepatients@gmail.com. We also, for the Tuesday Q&A, get questions from there. So if you have questions for us about Sniper or Tiny or what have you, send it there. Also, we record that live on Mondays at 9 Eastern. I don't believe we're going to have a guest on next week, but it's always a lot of fun. It's just a good time to hang out. I thoroughly enjoy the live recording. You can also get our defenseofthepatients.com website where we have our Amazon banner. You can click through that. It gives us a little cut. It costs you nothing. Twitch.tv/.ptv is where we stream everything, including the live show I was talking about. Discord.gg/.p is our Discord server, which is the primary hub for anything .p community, I will say. Twitter has its own subset, and the in-game has its own subset and all that, but Discord is the hotbed of .p activity. I'm in there constantly. Proud's in there all the time. Everybody's in there. It's a lot of fun. YouTube.com/.ptv1 is our YouTube channel where you can watch the VODs from today's game and from all other games, and the podcast if you prefer to watch it on YouTube. And I think that's about it. Or we also have a Reddit, r/defensethepatients. That's another good place for long form comments on our show. So that's about it. And I think this has been a fun show. And I look forward to seeing you next week, everybody. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye.